So this is gonna be quite a rambly video. I haven't written any notes or anything like that, which I usually do. If you haven't noticed it yet, my big shtick I have is probably self-improvement and always trying to get better, whether that being at your craft or just your personal life. And when you spend so much time thinking about self-improvement, you'll inevitably end up thinking about your own flaws, which I did about a year ago. And I started making a video that I never completed, even though I got very far into the production of it. The video was about me asking the people closest to me, my family and friends, what they thought my biggest flaw was. Before I asked them and filmed them talking about what they thought my biggest flaw was, I shot myself talking about 13, I think, flaws that I feel like are the biggest ones I notice in myself. So I wanted to kind of compare the two about what I feel like are my flaws and what they thought my biggest flaw was. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. I just wanted to go back. I haven't looked at this video since I began editing it. And the reason for doing this now is because since it was almost a year ago, I just want to go back and see what I think about this now. Because I didn't release this video for a reason. It was mostly a video for myself. I just wanted to vent out my own frustrations with my flaws and hear the people that are closest to me and what they thought about it. I felt sort of a disconnect between why I should upload that to YouTube. I didn't see the reason for doing it. But I don't feel like that's a good enough reason to not upload it anymore. And it feels weird to just edit it, finish the editing, and then upload it because I'm a year younger. That's not me anymore. I have grown a lot this year, I feel like. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing this. I want to do a look back, see what it is, because I feel like I want to compare it. I want to see what have this year of me living here and studying music, what have I earned from this? Have I improved anything? Do I still feel like these are my biggest flaws? Or do I feel like I can write some of them off the list? As I said before, I haven't written any notes. I haven't decided anything on what I'm gonna talk about because I don't remember exactly what I brought up in this video. So enough of that. Let's go back a year to short-haired Nemo before I got my dreads. Let's just start watching. Blah, blah, blah. Hi again. Since starting to feel a lot better these last few weeks, I've thought a fair share about flaws, and more particularly, my own flaws. We all know we have them, some big, some small, and some that can even end relationships. A big part of depression, for me at least, is obsessing over these flaws. Like, no matter their initial size, I'll inevitably end up making them way bigger in my head than they actually are. And since I'm spending way too much time up in here, I thought it might be a good idea to get an outsider's perspective and talk to the people around me and see what they think about my flaws and what my biggest flaw is. And trust me, this is in no way intended to make me feel worse about myself or anything like that. I'm doing this to get a better view on reality, what I'm actually like, and also learn from it to become a better person. Let's talk about my flaws. Always the clap and the intro before really starting the video. I always do that. I don't know why. I feel like maybe it is just because you get more of a connection. You see the behind the scenes, not just the written notes or the written script. I do kind of enjoy this video now when I'm looking back at it. How I wrote it, how I structure this intro at least. I mean, it's a pretty good concept, I think. The whole thing about comparing what I feel like on the inside to reality, because I still feel like that's a big issue I have. Since living with depersonalization and derealization, I don't really feel like I'm here in reality, and then comparing what I do feel to reality is a good way to ground myself. I didn't really mention it here, but that's also why I wanted to do this video. So yeah, let's keep moving and go to where I start talking about my own predictions of what my family and friends thought my flaws were. Okay. it's kind of hard to do, because flaws are just a weird thing to talk about with people, especially like the whole internet as well. Since flaws are these things that we're used to hiding, or at least feeling like we have to hide them, and what we don't want people to find out about ourselves, even though we know that the people around us probably know more about them than we do. Okay, so I remember filming that part. I haven't scripted anything like that. This was just when I sat down in front of the camera and tried to just get into speaking English, being in front of the camera, talking and everything. So that was just unscripted, raw emotions before I started talking about my flaws. And I don't really agree with that now. Well, I do agree about the thing that the people around us probably know our flaws more than ourselves, because we do hide a lot from ourselves. But I don't agree with the thing about, right now I don't mind sharing it with the internet. I feel so open, and I don't care if a lot of people think about me in a weird context, if they know about my personal flaws without knowing me in person. I think we should be able to talk about these things more often. That's also why I made the video in the first place. Because what we feel on the inside is something that we often keep to ourselves too much. For me personally, I need to be open with people. I can't go around living in a make-believe world where everything's fine, and I can't be bothered trying to place a facade. And I feel like so many people do that already that would just turn my brain into mush or something. And I think if people see a video like this, when I talk about my flaws and insecurities and stuff like that, they might realize that it's possible to talk. So it's a lot about, I just want to help people, because I know a lot of people aren't comfortable enough with talking to the people around them about what's actually inside their head. And I think in most cases, I'm not going to say that I know, I'm not a psychiatrist or a therapist or anything like that, but I feel like when you keep too much inside of your head and don't vent them out and don't talk to people and hear what they have to say back, a lot of the times that will just be hurtful for yourself. I know from personal experience that's how it's been for me. I don't know how it is for everyone else. I'm not gonna claim that I know. So yeah, I mean, a video about me opening myself up, I think can be beneficial for a lot of people to open themselves up. I just want people to be more comfortable talking about anything. People are way more accepting than you think. That's at least what I've learned. Let's keep going. Now, here is flaw number 1, I think. I'm lazy and tired. It happens way too often that I feel like I can't be bothered. I don't care enough to actually do this. So I just watch YouTube. I don't really have the energy to do anything else. So I just sit there and do nothing instead. I'm just really lazy. I mean, yeah, I'm still very lazy and very tired, but maybe not to the same degree as I was there. I do still have a lot of days like today. Before I started filming this video, I was just laying on the ground, not doing anything. But, I mean, that's just comparing to myself. I know myself, and I know how productive I can be. To me, I'm lazy, but to other people, maybe I'm not. I don't have a lot to say about this now either, so. I like to argue way too much, and I always feel like I have to be right. I get in a lot of discussions with my friends and my family, which I like. I really like to argue with people and discuss things, because that's how you get better and get more ideas and evolve, according to me at least. But the thing that is the flaw with me is that I have a lot of trouble with letting go of an argument. I way too often feel like I'm in the right here, even though the thought might pop up that you might not be right here. I still continue pushing to the maximum limit, and that's usually when I quote-unquote win the argument. It's usually because I outlast the other person. I have gotten a lot better at this in recent years. At least I think so. Because I used to be a real pain in the ass to argue with. And I still can be if I want to. But I think I've learned at least that other people can have good ideas as well. I'm not always in the right. And that's totally okay. But that doesn't change anything that I still like to argue way too much. Yeah. This has been a big thing for me for a long time. I've always been the guy that keeps going on an argument until other person gives up or I feel like I win. But I think I've been a bit humbled during this year, maybe. I feel like I was worse before, but this is still a big issue for me. More so when talking to people that are way closer. If I'm talking to people that I'm kind of close to, I won't argue in the same manner. I won't feel like I have to win, but yeah, it's still a big issue. My mental health. Of course, this is a flaw. It's probably the one that affects my everyday life and how I act around people the most. And it's something that I can't really just control because it doesn't work like that when it comes to depression and stuff like that. But yeah, not gonna go overboard and talk about that way too long because I usually do that. Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I do feel a lot better than I did here. I haven't had any big breakdowns or big weeks where I've been really depressed this last month, maybe. But I did have a period where it was like 3 weeks of non-stop where I just shut down completely. But that was a while ago now. I don't want to get scared that it's gonna happen again because I know it probably will. And that's fine. That's just life. I mean, it's up and down. I wouldn't say that I'm mentally healthy as I know one can be because I felt that before I started getting depression and feeling depersonalized. I mean, I wouldn't categorize it as a flaw in the same way I did here because I've learned more about it and I feel more like that's just a part of life for me at the moment. Maybe it will be for longer. Maybe it won't have to be for such a long time anymore because I do feel a lot better. I don't nearly have as many breakdowns and as many depressive episodes as I did back then, but it's still there. It's still kicking. I'm too controlling. I am somewhat of a control freak. To some, it might be a good thing. In some instances, it really is a good thing because I feel like a leader in a lot of places. When I know what I'm talking about and when I know what I want, I am pretty good at leading people to get to that point. But it often ends up being that I control other people way too much. It's not like I manipulate people or anything like that. That's not the point. I just mean like I get visions of how I want things to be way too easily, and I can see a thing that it has to be like this. And I have a real trouble with letting go and letting other people's input affect the end product. It often ends up feeling like I'm just taking control way too much and not letting other people's input matter as much as my own. If I just listen to myself all the time, I won't learn anything. I have to listen to other people more and let them show me how to do things and not always think that my way is the right way. Controlling. Yeah, I feel like maybe I've eased up a bit on that too. Being around so many different types of people down here and being around so many creative people has made me feel like I can let go a bit more. I can trust people when it comes to creative work, and I don't have to be the director or top chief in every situation in the same way as I did. So yeah, I think I've become better at that, maybe. I'm better, but I'm not good. I feel like I'd still categorize it as a big flaw of mine. I'm a perfectionist. In some instances, a really good thing, but in other things, it's such a nightmare. I've always been a perfectionist and I probably always will. But I have to learn to dial it back a bit and be more okay with things not being perfect. Yeah, perfectionism. I mean, in a lot of ways, I'm not as much of a perfectionist as I was before. But given the setup I have going at the moment, it might look very chilled right here, like I just put the camera up and then I started recording. But actually, I've got a microphone down here. I put a light here that shouldn't be there. I had to refurnish my room a bit. and my computer down here and my sound card there. If I weren't a perfectionist about how it looks when I film, I would just sat at my desk without any extra lights or anything like that. I'm still a perfectionist, but this is something I haven't talked about on my YouTube channel yet, but I've started tattooing a bit, and I've tattooed myself. I really like all the imperfections of my crappy tattoo work. I really love that. I've started relishing more in the imperfections of things, but I'm still a big perfectionist in a lot of ways. But I wouldn't categorize it as a flaw anymore. I don't think so. So I think we can cross that one off the list. I'm either too proud or too doubtful of myself. And what I mean by that is that if I'm in a good mood, then I just like everything I create and I feel really happy about everything, and I'm just super proud of myself, which means that I look at other people's stuff and feel like I'm way better than that. I think way too highly about myself, but that's just when I feel really, really good. The other times I'm way too doubtful of myself. It means that I think everything I make is shit and everything I want to make is not worth the time. But yeah, I tend to be really doubtful or really proud of myself. I fluctuate between those two. In just a matter of an hour, I can go from the one to the other and back again. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, that's still a big flaw of mine. When I finish something and I'm proud of my work, I'm really proud of what I've done because I feel like, oh, that's very good. I really like that. But then the other part of my brain kicks in and I start to doubt everything. And I feel like everything I make sucks and I suck as a person, and that's just a fact of life, even though I know it's not. That's not a thing that exists. You can't just suck completely as a person, I don't think. I don't have a lot more to say about that. That's still a huge thing that I deal with. I'm way too self-centered. This is a weird thing to talk about when you're making a video all about your own flaws, because that's just self-indulgent as hell. This goes back to like the human condition, but I always feel like I'm worth more than I'm getting. That's not how the world works. I can't see myself as something more than anybody else, and that's something that's always in the back of my mind. I try to think about how we're all human beings and I'm not better than anybody else. I have to think about other people more. Oh, yeah. Self-centered. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll make a video on this in the future where I talk a bit more about it, because I need to make my thoughts cohesive for a video. Yeah, let's keep going for now. My goals are way too high. This is just a simple one, really, but it's a big flaw nonetheless. I'm aiming way too high. I mean, my biggest fear in life is that I won't get to where I want to be. It's way too easy that I'll fail. I mean, it's good to have high hopes for life, but you have to think that you can be content with life even if you don't make it all the way to the top. So that's why that's a big flaw. Are my goals way too high? Yeah, I do think so. But I also feel like it has to be big. I have the same goal as I did back there. I want to be able to make music. I want to convert a van and live in a van, but also be able to live off of my art, basically. That's my goal. So, I mean, it's not too huge of a goal. I'm quite a simple guy in that respect, I think. Nah, I don't feel like this is such a flaw of mine anymore. Not that I would bring it up in a video if I were to do a similar video like this now. I don't think so. I've lowered my expectations a bit, and I also feel more comfortable with it being a big goal, because I don't think I would be able to live with myself if I didn't try to get there. So yeah, we can scratch that one off as well, I think. I hate myself. I haven't exactly talked about this in another video, but that just kind of goes without saying. When you're depressed, you start really hating yourself. Even the good things about you, you see them as way worse. Oh yeah. So, I mean, what am I gonna say? I still do. It's still a thought that pops into my head almost every day. I've better come to terms with it. I feel like I can be okay with it and be more proud of myself, even though I feel like that. But that would definitely be, or maybe the big flaw I would bring up in a video such like this one, if I were to make it now. Because I do kind of hate myself. But I think also I've learned to love myself better. It really is a love-hate relationship between myself and myself. Because I do really like a lot of personality traits I have and a lot of ideas I have about how one should be more open and how I want to live my life. I'm very open about all of those things, and I do like that about myself, but I do still very much hate myself in a lot of ways. So, yeah, that's still a thing. I'm too quiet. When I'm with my family, I'm usually the quiet one. I often just sit there and don't say anything at all, really. It's mostly because I just don't feel like anything is worth saying. If I'm just listening to other people, I don't really get a connection with them. And since that's what I'm all about honesty and getting a true connection with people, I should talk more so that they can get a connection with me as well. Yeah, I'm way too quiet. Too quiet? Yeah, I'm still very quiet. Well, it depends on in which circumstances. But I feel like what I brought up here and what I would bring up now is kind of similar. I'm too quiet when meeting new people. That's mostly my issue. I feel like I'm a bit more open and more relaxed about saying my take when I'm in a conversation with someone. But that's when I'm in a conversation. When I'm not in a conversation, I'm really bad at getting a conversation starting. I'm never really the instigator of a conversation if I don't know the person. And that's my big issue with myself, because I love having conversations with people and I love hearing their ideas and bouncing them off from my ideas. And because that's how I think we learn as people. Yeah, I want to get better at instigating conversations. But it's the same here. I feel like I'm better than I was back then, mostly because I've met a lot of people and I've been able to talk to a lot of them in very meaningful ways. So I feel like I'm better, but it's still an issue for me. I keep to myself way too much. I don't have a lot to say about it, really. I just like being alone. Not all the time, of course, but I feel like if I'm alone, I have no one else that can bother me, and I feel like now I can really work on what I want to work on. It's the same thing. I have to be around people to learn from them, and if I want to grow, I need to be around people and hear other people's perspective on things. I just want to do more with the people around me. I need to make more of an effort to be around more for them and for myself. I am alone a lot of the time, but I think that's a good thing, more or less now. Maybe it will be different when I move somewhere else, because right now I live at my school with a lot of people around me, so when things happen, I can just run out and be a part of it. And I do a lot of the times, because a big thing for me is if people are hanging out and I'm not working on anything really important, I will just go hang out and I will probably be the last person to leave. That's just what I do, kind of. I just kind of like being around people. And I feel like I've opened up a bit this year, letting people in on my creative process more, which has been very good for me. But I could do with a little bit more opening up in that regard, because I'm very open as a person, talking about what I think on the inside, but collaborating or showing people my unfinished work is still something I'm struggling with a bit, kind of. I've done it a lot here, but I could do with some improvement there as well. I overthink and overanalyze everything. This is a thing that I think runs in my family, really. We all tend to overanalyze everything around us and think about the tiniest details about a conversation, how the tone in someone's voice was when they said something to us. Or this is a really hard thing to turn on the switch to shut off, but it takes up way too much brain power to think about everything all the time and how it relates to everything else. But yeah, that's a big thing. Overanalyze and overthink. Yeah, this is still very much a thing of mine. I think that will just be the case for the remainder of my life. I think that's just a part of who I am. I do analyze everything into detail, and I overthink. I think way too much about the details all the time. As I said here, why I bring it up as a flaw, because a lot of times it's a good thing. For me as a producer, when I'm producing stuff, it's a very good thing to have. Yeah, so it's a curse and a gift at the same time. But what I'm all constantly trying to do is be more relaxed and not overthink details about when I'm connecting with people, because I do overthink a lot of small details in when having conversations with people, in how I interact with people. I feel like if I don't overthink them, I feel like I would enjoy the interactions more, and I really want to do that. It's a big wall keeping me from really connecting with someone, because I'm constantly thinking, oh, should I be leaning here, or should I make eye contact now? But I've eased up a bit on that, I think. But yeah, that's just a part of me. I don't think I either want it to go away, and I don't think it will go away. So that's just me. I overthink and I overanalyze. I'm too prejudiced. This might seem like a weird thing for me to say, but I'm really prejudiced against a lot of people. I'm more prejudiced against the norms. As you know, I don't wear shoes. I dress in the same clothes pretty much every day. And when I walk around town, I get a lot of looks from people because I stand out when compared to the normal, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I like that about myself, but I don't like that when I look at people that don't stand out or choose to just wear whatever everybody else is wearing. That doesn't mean that they're not like a highly functional human being just as myself. If you look at a person, you can't know anything about them, really. You can't tell what they've been through in life and how they think about certain things. So that's another big one, which I'm constantly trying to get better at. Too prejudiced. I mean, I am still kind of prejudiced to some stereotypes. And when I say that, I don't mean like stereotypes of different cultures or stuff like that. I mean, I'm more stereotypical businessman, maybe. I have a lot of prejudice against that, which I don't like. I feel like a lot of the times when you have prejudice, you have to be proven wrong to learn from it. And I haven't been proven wrong with a lot of stereotypes like business people and people who are high up in industries and stuff like that. I haven't been proven wrong yet, so I do have a lot of prejudice against that. It's not really a flaw of mine, but I don't really like that it's a part of me. I would rather prefer it not to be. I would like to be more open about anyone, because I feel like we can learn something from anyone, even if you won't connect with that person because you're so different. I feel like you can still learn something from it. Okay, so yeah, this took way longer than I thought to go through all the 13 flaws I was talking about. So as I said before, I did film my friends and family as well, and what they thought my flaws were. And I do want to go back and rewatch that as well. But maybe I'll do that in a separate video. Maybe I'll do that just on my own, because it feels a little bit weird to include them in this video, even if I know they all would probably be fine with it. But this video is probably long enough. I did have a lot more to say than I thought. I thought I would, because I didn't remember all the flaws I brought up. Some were just like, oh, that's not a thing anymore. Really, that's not an issue. Most of them have just gone further down on the list, as far down as it's still an issue for me, but I wouldn't say that I have to bring them up. Some of them are very still happening and still very much me, but I think I would probably be able to narrow it down from 13 to maybe 5 that I would bring up that are really the big issues for me. And a lot of them I don't think I'll get better at soon, at least. Like overthinking and mental health, I don't think they will disappear anytime soon. I don't think hating myself will disappear anytime soon as either. But yeah, being lazy, that's still a thing, and maybe that's just a part of me. Maybe I'll get better at it. I don't know. But yeah, this was quite fun to go back and have a look at what I thought about my flaws. It's just a year ago, but you can still see such a big difference in me. I don't want to say that I would add any new flaws. I haven't picked any new flaws up since making this video. It's still very much these, but removing some of them, of course. but still very much these that are the big ones. So yeah, maybe this was interesting to watch, maybe it wasn't. I don't really think I can come to a conclusion here. My conclusion is maybe that I have grown a bit. I do feel like I've improved in some of these areas. Some I haven't, which is okay. You don't always have to improve, but I'm mostly making this for other people this time. When I made that video the first time, I made it for myself because I wanted to improve myself. Now I feel like I'm mostly making this video for other people to see it's okay to have flaws. It's a necessary part of being alive. I don't think anyone is without any flaws. It should be very okay to talk about that and be open about it. As I said before, not to downgrade yourself, not to make yourself feel any worse, but to be open about it so that you can improve from it, to learn from it. Because as I can see here, just 1 year ago, I have improved a lot. But yeah, I think that's it. This was really fun to make. Hopefully you feel a bit inspired, maybe to accept your flaws as a thing that you have, but that you can improve on. It's not something that you have to carry throughout your life. Some things are just a part of you, I think, like overthinking for me. I don't think I can shut that off, but I've come to learn to accept it more. But some things you can improve on, and you have to remember that. So yeah, I think that's where I will leave you now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Ha det.